You go, boy.
I don't care about the top 10, the top 5, or who the best is. Money straight, my fam straight, I'm George straight, that's Texas. Angel wings on a Lambo, praise the Lord, that's a blessing. Bentley truck like Lex Luger, yeah, nigga, I'm flexing. I'm Richard Sherman, I back it up. Angel Mama, I stack it up. Hey, Poppy, yo, Gotti, swear to God, I rack it up. Still Jersey, that's all day.
You go, boy.
Hey, yo. It's your boy. We back. Where's my camera? Where's my camera? We got Marv on the boards. Before I get to our illustrious guest, this is legendary. Give me some balls. This is legendary. I told y'all I wasn't playing. We've got royalty. We got a Hall of Famer in the building. But before I even get to that, I'm U-Goboy. Welcome to the U-Goboy Podcast. Live from Bravery Studios. Bravery up. In lovely Garfield, New Jersey. This is episode 5. Let's just get right to these numbers, man. Like, I've got so much love in my heart and so much thanks for the numbers that I'm about to drop right now. How about this? On TikTok, we just hit 175,000 views on TikTok. Lots of bombs for that. The YouTube channel, we just hit 1,000 subscribers, so we're halfway home to being monetized. On the road to 1 million, it's coming. We just crossed 370,000 views on YouTube. Whew. Oh my goodness. The podcast is blown up. The followers, the subscribers, as always, thank you to all the subscribers and all the followers across all the social media platforms. Bravery Studios for holding down your boy, as always. Bravery up. And again, we're just getting started. Of course, and merch is here. Where's my camera? There we go. Merch is here. Hats, hoodies, Yahtzee t-shirts, all that good stuff in the bio, in the link below, in the description below. We're gonna get right to this. On tonight's episode 5, the man sitting to my right he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. He's one of the best administrators to ever do it. He's one of the best professional motivational speakers to ever do it. He's one of the best published authors to ever do it. He's one of the best scholars to ever do it. The voice of God. and just a full circle life moment. This man was my middle school principal, and I'll always call him Principal Kafele or Mr. Kafele, or Special K. That's what we called him. That one of many nicknames. Shout out to Sojourner Truth Middle School, B-Heads, East Orange, New Jersey, all that good stuff. We've got a highly regarded urban educator in New Jersey for over 20 years, where he distinguished himself as a master teacher and a transformational school leader. He began as an elementary school teacher in East Orange, New Jersey, and later became a middle school and high school principal. He led remarkable, give me some bombs for that, remarkable turnarounds for 4 different New Jersey urban schools, including Sojourner Truth Middle School, my alma mater, as well as the mighty Newark Tech. He is currently a professional motivational speaker, author of 7 books, Bomb City. His newest release, The Equity and Social Justice Education 50, bombs for that. And as I mentioned before, he was elected into the East Orange Hall of Fame. Put some respect on this man's name. On episode 5 of the U-Goboy Podcast, we got Baruti Kafele in the building. Principal Kafele. I gotta say it with your chest. Like Kevin Hart. Mr. Kafele, this is epic. This is an honor.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling, man? How you feeling?
I'm on fire. Glad to be here. Honored to be here.
Thank you so much for stopping by. When I started this podcast, you were one of the first guests that came to mind. I knew that I had to have you on. I knew your story is incredible. What you did for me was incredible. What you've done for so many black youth in East Orange, New Jersey, EO, stand up, and Newark, and Essex County, and Jersey, period, and across the country. When did it all begin? When did you realize that this is it? This is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah, great question. I went to Kane University in 1984 as a lost, broken young man. and stumbled on a book literally the first day I got there. I went to the college library and said, let me go to the library and see if I could latch on with some people who were making right decisions in their lives. I didn't latch on with anybody, but I went to the aisles where the books were. And here's a book that somebody forgot to push all the way in on the shelf. So because it was protruding on the shelf, I said, there's my book. I didn't know the title, just pulled it off, went and took a seat. And it was called To Kill a Black Man, a book about the lives of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X in terms of the parallels of their lives. That book intrigued me, led me to reading more and more African history, African diasporan. And at that point, I said, I know what I want to do with my life. I want to teach, and became a teacher.
Bombs away. Bombs away. It's like a Malcolm X story in 2.0. So I met you at Sojourner Truth Middle School. My brother had told me about you because he went to Truth for about a year or two and then eventually went to Patrick Healy, or the Hart Complex. It was 3 middle schools in one in East Orange, for those who don't know. And I think he had mentioned, he's like, yeah, Mr. Kafele, he's no nonsense. You know, he's serious. So I meet you, and from the jump, we're talking 1999.
Yeah.
I was 11, figuring out puberty in life, and growing up in East Orange. East Orange is a lot different than it is now. It's a little bit gentrified, like Newark and parts of New York and so forth. 90s, early 2000s, East Orange, very, very different, very different. When you came to, was that your first official principal job?
That was my first principalship. I was assistant principal with your brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you got the call or had the meeting, walk me through the process of when you found out, this is my shop, this is my show.
Yeah.
What was that meeting, or what was that process like? And then what was your goal coming in to how you were going to shape and mold Truth?
Yeah, I want to cite another book before I answer that question to give it context. I stumbled on a book by the great Dr. Carter G. Woodson entitled The Miseducation of the Negro. And there was this passage within a paragraph that I want to just quote real quick. He said, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or yonder or go yonder. He will find his proper place and he will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. So in the context of that book, I'm AP at Truth. I know I want something more. I want to be principal, but I got a particular philosophy perspective of how I want to do it. So I make that well known to the superintendent. He calls me on the last day of school when I was AP. He called me. He said, are you ready? I said, I'm ready. All right, we're going to start the process. And we start the process, interviewed folks. I interviewed well. And they made me principal at Sojourner Truth Middle School. So, one of the things that we did, we changed the name of the school first and foremost. It was called Sojourner Truth Middle School Institute of Science and Technology. But I said to the superintendent, I got to bring me in here now. And that was African-centered studies. So it became Sojourner Truth Middle School Institute of Science, Technology, and African-centered Studies.
Facts. Bombs away. Bombs away.
We did revolutionary things there in terms of the electives that we created, particularly. We used college-level textbooks. And to this day, I'm recommending those same books and same program to schools literally all over America and beyond, because we saw the benefits of young people being introduced to themselves, historically speaking, being introduced to themselves beyond the names on their birth certificate, but understanding who that is in their mirror, historically speaking, so that they understand their role on the continuum of life.
Oh, facts away, facts away. Make some noise, make some noise. This is iconic. I remember, I want you to walk me through picking staff, because, just to give you guys to buoy off of what Ms. Kafele just said, I remember not just going to regular traditional classes, English and language arts and reading and math and science and so forth, but I remember teachers like Mr. Ted Bowler,
Right.
who made it a point of emphasis to teach us about the Dogon people and Dr. King's real story and Malcolm X's real story and the Black's Law Dictionary and what money really is and what it means to really be black in America and African and Kush and so forth. Mrs. D. Smith, Mrs. Reed, my English teacher who learned at Oxford, Mr. Stackhouse, rest in peace, Mr. Whitlock, just putting together the staff, Miss Ashe, who's from Ghana, my science teacher, Miss Tingling Jarrett, also from the West Indies. Putting together staff, were you very deliberate how you did that?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of them were already there, but under my leadership, they were able to exhibit their real authenticity. So a lot of like a Ted Bowler, for example. Now I'm there, and now he can fly.
Yes.
Right. A Hubert Chase.
Yes.
Now I'm there. He can fly. Matter of fact, I brought Chase in, but he can fly.
He commented on the Facebook post.
Okay, yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Chase.
Stackhouse, I brought him in, but he can fly. And a lot of them, in fact, most of them, they're administrators now. Sancha Gray was a former superintendent of schools in Asbury Park, who's now vice president senior vice president at Kane University. Stackhouse is an assistant principal in Newark. Chase is a principal. Bowler is a principal. D. Smith is a principal with a doctorate degree, I might add.
Yes, sir.
And, and I can go on and on with that staff. So it was a special time. It was the right people came together at the right time, and that's inclusive of myself as principal at that time while they were in that building, because a lot of the things that they did, they couldn't do under the previous leadership. But now you got a leader that's got this African-centered vision, this African-centered approach, and now they can be themselves, and now we can do things. We can make history together, and that's essentially what we did.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Hey, bombs away. Like the video, subscribe to the channel as always. So there's a lot of your texts, a lot of your methods that still resonate with me. Can we talk about the goal cards?
Oh, man.
I remember those, the goal cards. Walk our viewers through the goal cards.
Yeah, and the goal cards, I never walked away from them. That's still a central part of my work. The goal card is simply goal setting, GOAL. So as a college student, I decided that I needed to be a little bit more systematic than just showing up to class and then studying. I needed to have a plan. So the plan was, let me conceptualize what my goals will be for each semester, and then let me write a plan for how I'm going to do it, a step-by-step plan. So when I became a teacher, I put the same thing in place, and we got everybody on the honor roll, because now it's not just being in class, but we're forecasting what the grade will be. So when I became a principal, I did the same thing. So that was in each school that I led. I led 4 different schools. In each school I led, we had these index cards with the student's name, the marking period number, and then the goal for that particular class. If it was elementary, then all the subject areas. But if it's secondary, middle, and high school, then having the grade, the subject area, and then the grade that we would achieve, each individual, and then the plan of action. And then holding students accountable for the plan that they wrote toward ensuring that students are maximizing their potential by having a target to aim for. So here I am now at 62 years old, something I started with my own life when I was in my 20s, I still live that. So whatever successes that I've experienced over life, it's because I lived those goal cards. Those are my reality. I do nothing without setting a goal. I do nothing without formulating a plan. You said I wrote 7 books. Actually, I wrote 13.
Oh, okay. Right? I was just going off the bio.
That's an old bio.
13 books. Apologies. 13 books. 13. Bombs away. 13 books.
I just finished number 13 last week.
Lovely.
I wrote it in a month, 30,000 words. And that's including writing them on airplanes, writing them in hotel rooms, that type of thing, writing them at gates, waiting for a flight. But I'm putting that in this context, the plan. See, I had a plan for how I was going to get this thing done so that the book could be released at the date I wanted to be released later on in 2023. Everything's a plan. Mm-hmm. Without a plan, you just as Zig Ziglar said, you just a wandering generality. I want to be a meaningful, specific So I got to have a plan of action. I got to be able to see it before I take the first step.
Absolutely, absolutely. Make some noise, make some noise. We got Ms. Kafele in the building. Principal Kafele in the building. Oh, man, this is epic. This is epic. So you mentioned this earlier when you decided to infuse African studies and heritage into the curriculum, into the name of the school, and just into the whole vibe of the institution. Was that met with some criticism? Was there any backlash with that? Did you go through anything? Walk me through behind the scenes, the pitfalls of navigating this system as a black man.
The backlash came once I left Sojourner Truth to replicate it. I left Truth to replicate that. You know, I had no reason to leave Truth, but I wanted to prove to the world that this can be replicated, and this is a vital ingredient to ensuring that black children are successful in school. Because how can I focus on content if I don't see myself in the learning? How do I focus on content if I don't see myself on the pages of the book? In other words, it's not relatable. It's not applicable to my life. Then why am I going to go hard on it? So I wanted to prove that if you put the right ingredients in front of black children, they're going to soar. If you put themselves in the lesson, it's like with anything. Television, you're gonna watch the show that you see yourself or the one that's relatable. Radio, music, podcasts, you name it, you're gonna lock into that which speaks to you, your world, your life. Well, youngsters are going to school, particularly black youngsters are going into classrooms, and it's not relatable to their reality after the 3 o'clock bell rings. I said, I want to make this thing relatable, and not just in an elective course, but mathematics, science, social studies, language arts, PE, health, foreign language, whatever it is, which is what we built upon that after my Truth days, because my Truth days, I was still a baby. But we built upon that to ensure that young people see themselves. So the backlash was as I tried to move about replicating what we did at Truth, I didn't have the same level of support to be able to do that. But as a consultant now, as a speaker now, I train folks to be able to implement that in their schools.
Oh, lovely, 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 lovely. Make some noise. We have a principal talking about that. So I remember one story. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like there was like a lean on me situation. Oh yeah. Like, can you please tell that story?
Yeah, how much in depth do you want me to go?
Listen, this is unfiltered, authentic conversations. Yeah. So have at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go semi in depth, and this will probably be the deepest that I've talked about this in public in a very long time, in a public space. But I came back to East Orange and encountered a superintendent that we saw the world very differently. And they wanted to institute a new pilot program at Healy. That's the school I was at the time. Healy had its own challenges, but now it had this new challenge of this pilot program, which was designed to eliminate those challenges, but it created a new set of challenges. And one of the areas that really bugged me about it was an after-school program where the students were the entire school requested to stay an hour or so after school hours. So when the time changed in the fall, that meant that the students would be released from school when it was dark. And we had 6th graders in the building, and I didn't want them walking them streets in East Orange when it was 5 o'clock. So and so forth. So we clashed, and then we clashed on some other things. And ultimately, because we clashed, I was transferred to another school in East Orange, unbeknownst to me. So I found out after it had happened one night at a board meeting in question, some of the board members, like, why did you allow me to be transferred to another school? They said, well, the soup said you wanted to be transferred. I said, I don't want to be transferred. I was at Healy. So I got to the new school the next morning, and I challenged them again as to the transfer. So through that challenge, and I'm being real polite here, but through that challenge, I was suspended.
Wow.
And not allowed to come on campus of any of the schools in East Orange. I had to stay out of the district entirely.
So you were barred.
I was barred. That was September 17th, 2004.
Wow.
So I have it all memorized. So, but on 2000, but on September 19th, I was scheduled to come on the Open Line, which is a show on at the time 98.7 Kiss FM. It was a talk show. It still exists every Sunday morning. The hosts are different now because all three of the hosts have transitioned. But James Mtume, Bob Slade, Bob Pickett were the hosts at the time. James Mtume is a longtime recording artist, wrote most of Stephanie Mills' songs and so forth, and so many other artists, including his own. There's no Biggie without Mtume because Juicy is his song.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
It was called Juicy Fruit, right?
Nice.
So that was the sample.
Take it all the way back. Nice.
So, to make a very long story short, I had a new book out, a handbook for teachers of African-American children. I had been trying to get this interview for the longest because they got 3 million people that listen every Sunday morning. So they scheduled me for that Sunday when I was suspended. So I'm up there, it's a talk show. So I'm up there talking about the new book, trying to get it out there in the New York market. And then when they opened up the phone lines, the parents of East Orange called in. And they were saying things like, Kafele, why are we talking about a book when the board is getting ready to fire you on Wednesday? I said, yeah, I know, but I'm not here for that. I'm not here to talk about my challenges and my issues. But the host, particularly James Mtume, like, wait a minute, Kafele, what's going on? I said, it ain't important. They said, nah, they said you in trouble, like you getting ready to get fired? So now the book took a back seat, and the whole program now was about me and my issues in East Orange. He said, James Mtume, the board hearing was September 22nd, that Wednesday. 2004, he said, everybody under my voice be at that board meeting. That Monday night, the UPN 9 News, I was the lead story. Principal under fire. The second night, Tuesday, I'm the lead story. Principal still under fire. And my students walked out both days. The third day, which was my hearing, superintendent said to them, he met them at the front door, if you walk out of here, I'm locking you all up. All right. So we have the hearing. I can't even get in the parking lot, my wife and I and my son, because it's that many people there. Wow. We could not drive through.
East Orange pulled up.
East Orange pulled up, but New York City pulled up.
Oh, wow.
Philadelphia pulled up. Whew. All over New Jersey pulled up.
Bombs away.
Yeah.
that's where pull up came from.
Yeah. Everybody was there. So, they gave them all a few minutes to speak. It was a long night. I spoke as long as I wanted to speak, which was a very long time. UPN 9 had a microphone on the podium. So they were literally breaking into shows to let them know the status of my hearing.
This is crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. The students had signs they made. That's the Joe Clark part you were talking about. They were outside chanting, hands off Kafele, hands off Kafele. And it was difficult to have the board meeting, because they were so loud. There was so many of them, so it was coming through the windows. And, we had to talk loud just to be able to hear one another. So they, at the end of the meeting, the board reinstated me. They said, look, you did nothing wrong. You unanimously, they said, report to school tomorrow. I was so disappointed by the fact that it happened. I went to work, but I was only there. I was only there physically. So I finished the year and went on to North Tech and got a reset on my life.
Yeah.
And
that's when I met up with you, because I was at St. Benedict's Prep.
That's
That's when I crossed, and you told me like the abridged version of this story.
Yeah, and even that's abridged.
Yeah, and that was incredible.
Well, 5 years later, like I tell everybody, and I'll close it here. 5 years later, after that incident occurred, I got what's called the Milken Award. That's an award where the Milken Family Foundation, led by two billionaires in Los Angeles, Mike and Laurel Milken, award 50 educators across the country each year with a check for $25,000 in their name for an award you cannot apply for, you cannot seek out. It's just a surprise. It's a surprise assembly. Usually the governors attend those, commissioners of education and other dignitaries and the media. And they surprised me with that award. And I said to myself that day, I said, man, had I allowed that situation in East Orange to break me completely, I don't know that I would have been the man I was at North Tech to ultimately have somebody find me and say that we recognize you as one of the best educators in America.
Oh man, make some noise here. That's incredible. Listen, when that becomes a Netflix movie, I just want to be brought on as a producer and help out with the music. That's all.
So let me say this to your audience.
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
Hey, somebody out there in a situation where something or someone is trying to break you, trying to break you down, trying to break down your idea, trying to break down your thoughts, your vision, your purpose, your mission, your spirit, your soul. You can't allow people to do that. You know, take the fall for a minute. We all gonna fall down sometime. So if you need to lay down for a minute, lay down for a minute, but get your behind up. Stand on your feet. Because the bottom line is, God gave you something before you were even born. You just have to find it. You got to be able to tap into yourself and find this thing. I found my gift. I found my talent. I'm self-employed. I travel the country and the world teaching. That's what I do. But I don't do it under somebody else's dictates, orders, and so forth. I create my message myself. And I train principals. I train teachers. I train educators at all levels. But if I allowed that situation to break me, or when I left my last school, I didn't have any clients. I just left. I was making about $160,000. I left, and the superintendent said, how you going to sustain yourself? How you going to pay your mortgage? How you going to pay your 3 children's tuition? How you going to take care of your wife? I said to him, keep your eye on me. and went on and built a multi-million-dollar company, which I'm just a one-man show. I have no staff. I got no booking agents. I got nothing but me and my purpose. So I'm just hollering at somebody out there that's going to see this, that's going to hear this, to say, how dare you let something break you down, period.
Drop the mic. This is legendary. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We got the Hall of Famer here. Oh man. So I wanted to ask this question. So you had mentioned that the Milken Award, that was it?
That's Milken.
The Milken Award. When you became an East Orange Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Walk me through what was going through your mind when, because I remember watching the picture. It was on Facebook, it was in my feed, and you holding the award, and with your family, your wife is there, your kids are there. That, like, what is going through your mind knowing that now I'm a Hall of Famer now?
Yeah, that was huge, and you know, shout out to the 2 brothers that were the point folks that informed me and all that kind of thing. My man, Dr. Steve Cowan, who was principal of C Building, Healy in East Orange, and my man Steve Cooper, who came up in East Orange like me. He went to Clifford Scott. And they were the ones that informed me about this. And, you know, I was the inaugural year, and just being there that night with all them superstars, and a part of me was like, man, what am I doing here? You know, but then another part of me said, but I belong here.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
So what a beautiful thing it was, and it's, you know, it's prominent in my bio, and I wear it on my sleeve that I'm in that Hall of Fame from the town that birthed me, the town that, well, I lie when I say birth. I was born in Orange, but I didn't live there. Right.
That's where you stay at. It's not where you're from, it's where you stay at.
Yeah, but I grew up in East Orange, so the town that raised me personally, but also the city that raised me professionally.
Absolutely.
As a teacher and a principal.
Absolutely. That's incredible. Like the video, subscribe to the channel as always. So I looked on your bio. There was so many gems on there. I know it's, you know, it doesn't have the 13 books. It's got the 7 books, but a lot of gems on there. It mentions the why.
Yeah.
It says to effectuate growth and development in the professional lives of educators in all capacities of education towards significantly impacting the lives of the children they service daily. I know you wrote that. Like, you can't tell me you didn't. Walk me through that why. And, you know, because again, that's not just for children, that's for adults. Like, you do this now professionally and globally. Walk me through that why.
Yeah, absolutely. And by listening to you ask me the question, it triggered where that 7 books is coming from. I have on that website the list of the books that are published by my current publisher. That's why. So you got the right information.
Okay, all right.
My self-published books are not on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that why. And I'll say to again, your listeners, your viewers, you can't, whatever it is you're going to do in your life, whatever, you can't do it optimally if you're not walking in your why. Your purpose, your reason, your because. So the question becomes, do you have a purpose? Do you have a reason? Do you have a because? Or do you just wake up in the morning and try to get through the day and then go to sleep and start over tomorrow? See, there's a lot of people, their walk through life is very broad, it's macro. Mine is very narrow, it's specific. I won't accept every speaking opportunity. The money is good. Speakers make good money, especially when you're in demand. So, but I won't accept them all, because if you ask me to speak about something that's not consistent with my why, even though it's a good topic, but is it consistent with the reason that I live? And if it's not, I can't do it. I got to turn down all that money or recommend a colleague or a friend, but I can't accept it because I'll just be on the stage faking the funk. And I don't want to fake the funk. I want it to be genuine, that when I'm on that stage or when I'm in front of that audience, that my passion is there for them, right? So in terms of that why relative to what's on the website, I'm all about educators. I mean, I'm all about the children, but I do it through the educator. So I want to make that teacher as phenomenal, as extraordinary, as amazing as he or she can be within the areas of education that I discuss. That principal, I want to make that principal as amazing, as phenomenal, as extraordinary as he or she can be within the areas of leadership, which is pretty much all of them, that I discuss. But if one is just kind of wandering about, you can't get there. So you got to find your lane. And then, sometimes people will make the argument that, why can't I be in several lanes? Well, you actually can, but I don't know if you can master all of them, right? I'm always a proponent of finding your lane, meaning finding your why and going hard at that why and being a beast at that why. See, so this is what I do. There's a million other things I could do, but ain't nothing I want to do, because it doesn't speak to my why, right? So that's what that's all about. And so I want to, if I'm working with a school or a district, I want that school or district to be able to make some serious improvements because of the time that we spent together, right? Because if the school is improving, that means children are successful. And that's the bottom line as to why the school doors open every day anyway.
No. Bombs away. Just so many gems on here. This is iconic. I'm gonna rewatch this like a million times. I mean, I gotta edit it too, but there we go. We touched on this a bit, and I wanted to merge these two topics. I remember the GEPA, the Grade 8 Proficiency Assessment. Standardized tests is still a thing. The way it was presented and distributed and implemented in the late 90s, early 2000s was one way. It's done a different way now.
Yeah.
Let's tie that to institutional racism.
Yeah.
So when you came to Truth, and because I remember we were talking about GEPA my 6th grade year when I just walked in, these scores. Now you didn't let that dictate what was going to happen the next 3 years. It was always there. It was like a supporting character.
Yeah.
And not every principal does that. You know that from experience. Do you feel that they go hand in hand? Do you feel that that they're tied in together, institutional racism and standardized tests?
Absolutely. Okay. See, those GEPA years, grade 8 proficiency assessment, those are my first few years as a principal. Those are the years, I don't cringe at the years, but I cringe at that component of the work. But during those days, that's when No Child Left Behind became law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So as soon as I become a principal, here's this law that says by 2014, 100% of all students in America have to be at grade level. They got to be proficient. So the pressure on us as leaders, which we in turn put on teachers, was overwhelming. And I had to figure out in real time, over time, how do I make this thing happen and not be so assessment oriented, right? And that came with growth over time. But those initial years, you know, I'm new. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I got pressure to raise test scores. So we did raise test scores.
Yes, you did.
Right.
You did.
But over time, I'm able to look at this thing through the lens of an educator in its fullest sense, not just someone who's there to raise a test score. Of course, in my soul, I understand clearly that this is not the way I want to lead a school as a rookie principal, but I understand the pressure to raise these test scores. But in terms of the institutional racism, you know, you look at schools in urban communities, black and brown communities, particularly in black communities across America, because I don't care what state you're in. You can go to Vermont, you can go to Montana, you can go to Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, where the black population is less than 1%. But with that less than 1%, you still have an achievement gap. It's still there. And so we're not even talking about the masses of young people, of young black people, black children. But then when you get to the larger districts where, like in East Orange, like in Newark, like in Irvington, Orange, and you've got large populations of black students, test prepping is not education. And I understand now, and I understood as I progressed in this thing called principal leadership, that education is education. And if there's something about what we offer, as I said earlier, if there's something about what we offer that youngster sees that as being relevant, then there's a higher probability that connections are going to be made. But here's the challenge. As a teacher, I cannot teach that which I do not know. I cannot teach whom I do not know. So an interesting scenario, an analogy would be the NBA, National Basketball Association, in 2020, when they had the bubble down in Orlando.
Yeah.
So with that bubble, and they're going to try to conclude a season, as a sports fan, my mind said, there's no way it's going to happen. COVID-19 will get into that bubble somehow, some way. It's everywhere else. So I'm watching it. And in the meantime, May 25th, 2020, George Floyd is murdered in 9 minutes and 29 seconds by a Minneapolis police officer. So now the NBA players, they want to get out into the world with the masses of people who are demonstrating outrage as to what happened to George Floyd. And then we learned Breonna Taylor in Louisville. So, but they couldn't leave the bubble. And if they left the bubble, then they've got to quarantine before they can come back in, but the games are being played. So their world is this bubble. And then what's happening outside of the bubble is happening over here, but the two can't intersect. Now, where am I going with this? In schools, you got Jalil and Jamila growing up, and we'll just use East Orange as an example, growing up in East Orange. And their school and their home is a part of their bubble. So they're in this bubble. And if you drive up to West Orange, up 280, Route 280 West, or Milburn, or Livingston, or some of those places, most of them kids in East Orange have never been there before. They don't have reason to go there. So they're in their bubble, and then you got kids up the highway, which the highway was built to bypass these cities, by the way. So now you got these other children, suburban children, white children, who are in their bubble, and they have little reason to come to East Orange, Newark, Irvington, and Orange. So now these two bubbles that are not very far from one another, but worlds apart at the same time. So youngster here goes to the neighborhood school. Up here in this other suburban bubble, youngster grows up and goes to college. Youngster says, I want to be a teacher. Okay. Youngster graduates and now is looking for a position. East Orange is hiring. Let me go to East Orange, and they pay pretty good. I'm going there. Might be just for training ground. So now the two bubbles intersect for the first time. This teacher, chances are, without me painting with a broad brush, chances are this teacher, when he or she went on to college, gravitated to people that look like the ones back home. When I went to college, I gravitated to the ones that looked like me back home. So she or he gravitated to folks that look like him or her because there's some common interest. So now, as I ask so many teachers, hey, teacher, talk to me. This is not when I'm in a presentation. This is when I'm having a private talk during a lunch break. Mm-hmm. Teacher, holler at me. Let me ask you something. Through your upbringing, did you have intimate familiarity with black people? Teacher, sometime, every now and then you're gonna meet someone and say, yeah, I grew up in, like a Garfield, right? Mm-hmm. But then you got others that didn't grow up in a town like this. Teacher, did you have intimate familiarity with black people? Not that you met somebody, I mean you know somebody, that's your friend, that's your dog, right? Do you have that in your life? No, I don't have that. Well then, teacher, let me ask you this. Are you telling me that your first real initial exposure to black people is this your third graders or your fifth graders or your seventh grade, whatever grade? Is that your first real contact with black people on a sustained level? Yeah, since you put it that way. Well, then guess what, teacher? You don't know black people. And now you're in a position to educate them. You can't educate who you don't know. So now the priority can't just be content. The priority has to be the children, that I teach children first, content secondarily. I got to get to know these children. But then I can't group them as just black children. I got to be more specific. Children who are growing up in an environment such as the ones that I have in my classroom. What do I know about their reality? What do I know about their experiences? What do I know about their challenges, their obstacles, their needs, their interests, their goals, their aspirations, their pressures, their demands, the way they learn, think, make sense out of information, the way they process information, the way they're motivated, captivated, and inspired? What do I know about that? And a lot of times the teacher doesn't know. So then here comes somebody with a test prep book. And now we going to kill them with test preparation. And they supposed to be excited about that. And they asking the question, what's this got to do with me? So what, I put it in the category of institutional racism? Of course. Because it's not the real education, and the children in the bubble over here in the suburbs are not being educated that way. No. That's not the way they're being educated. But we coming down to the city and throwing a workbook at them and saying we got to get 5 more points on the state assessment. Or here's the other piece, and then I'll go give it back to you. Mm-hmm. Youngster, there's this word equity. And I define equity as meeting the children where they are, as they are. Mm-hmm. So if you have these expectations up here, but youngster's not there, youngster's down here, you got to meet youngster down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not realistic for you to expect youngster to be here on day one when youngster has his or her own reality. But within that equity definition, I say there's these 3 components, teacher, that you got to be master of. Student individuality, student cultural, racial identity, student voice. Students are individuals, and you got to make sure that you don't lump them together with an all mentality that says everybody gets the same thing at the same time, at the same rate, at the same pace, and then you expect everybody's going to achieve at the same level. Nuh-uh, because they're in all different places. That individuality, you got students in all different places, and as teacher, you got to understand that, given everything I said about their different realities and their different challenges, etc. But then their cultural identity, their racial identity, they're black children. But what do you know about black children? Right? What do you know about black people? What do you understand about what it is to walk in black shoes? So what if I'm a teacher, because this teacher exists, that says, well, I don't see race. I don't see black children and white children and Latino children and Native American children and Asian children. I just see the children. And my response to that is, well, teacher, if you don't see the diversity along racial, ethnic, cultural lines, then you've created this fictional classroom that has no relationship to the world that they go into at 3 o'clock. That's number one. Number two, to not see the racial, ethnic, cultural diversity is as if the student said to you without saying, teacher, if you don't see my race, culture, ethnicity, you don't see me. And if you don't see me, you cannot effectively teach me. And if you cannot effectively teach me, then why am I in this classroom in the first place? And then number three, that youngster stands on some broad shoulders historically. All this greatness. And if we don't expose that youngster to that greatness, then that youngster will gravitate to pop culture. That youngster will gravitate to the athlete, to the entertainer solely because the youngster doesn't realize all that richness that flows through his and her veins. But as teacher, I can't teach what I don't know. That's the principle I became. I had to unravel a lot of that crap that they had and then remold, reshape so that they see the youngster through a different lens and not have to be that test prep specialist.
Make some noise. This is a masterclass. This is a masterclass. And it's funny, as you were saying that, I was just thinking about how full circle my experience with education was. My first 4 teachers were white. From kindergarten, take it back, from pre-K to 4th grade, they were all white. It wasn't until 5th grade, and I went to Columbian School, which became George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
Mrs. Butler, she was my first black teacher, and it was a little bit of an intro. She tried her best. She had like posters of like Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson up, and like like a giant mural of like hip hop artists like that hung by her desk. And I remember I told her I want to be in the NBA. And she was like, "Why don't you want to be a doctor?" It wasn't until I got the truth that I really understood what it meant to be black. You know, and mind you, I'm first generation Nigerian, so if you've had white teachers all your life and you finally get one black teacher that looks like you and is trying to like connect with you, there's still a lot of deprogramming that has to take place. So at Truth, which was amazing with Ted Bowler and Mrs. Smith, like I know she's gonna be watching, and Mr. Chase and Mr. Benson. I remember Mr. Benson. Yeah, he was awesome. Yeah. So it's like there was so much. I guess that's the perfect word: deprogramming. Learning that, listen, you're great, and here's proof that you're great, and here's proof that you can be whatever you want, but you need the tools.
That's right.
Because that's the difference. You know, inner city kid, inner city youth, education, equipping them with the tools to go out and be equipped to navigate this system, especially of America. That's first world country. You know, first world problems. Continue.
I was going to say. Once I got to that high school level, we created the Young Men's Empowerment Program. And I went to my boss, my superintendent, and I said, look, I need to create a program for my young men that carries the same weight as all the other content areas that we offer. Not some little after-school program that only a handful will attend, or a morning program, or a pull-out program. I said this needs to carry the same weight. So it would take me quite a while to break it down what it was. I'm just giving you a summary, but it was a program where externally I said I want them looking as if they were the principal of the school. You know, I'm old school, as I say to so many principals across the country, so I never wore school paraphernalia. I always wore a suit. So I said, let me have these young men looking like they're the principal, put them in a suit. Mom, I need you to support me. That's all I need from you. Mom said, we got you. So then we went out into the community and we started recruiting men from all walks of life, from the highly successful entrepreneur to OG that just finished a 10-year bid, and everybody in between. So now we bringing them into the school every Monday, and I'm taking a different grade level, and we spend 3 to 4 hours in the morning together, right? We'll make up the work we miss. So now we're talking about things. It's a whole framework that I put together, and we're talking about things that young man may not be talking about at home, probably not. And that's going on for 4 years. But when you become a senior, then I look at you as being my co-principal, and that's the entire class. And now I'm putting you responsible for the incoming freshmen. But we're also going to take 25 at a time and jump on a school bus on various different days and go into middle schools and elementary schools and begin to talk to those students as well about life, and particularly within this framework of, real quick, what does it look like? They pose as self-reflective questions. What does it look like to be a young man in relationship to himself? Number 2, what does it look like to be a young man in relationship to these young ladies sitting next to him in class? Number 3, what does it look like to be a young man in relationship to the child he may or may not have one day? We don't know. Number 4, what does it look like to be a young man in relationship to the other young men in your classroom and in your school? And number 5, what does it look like to be a young man in relationship to your community? Are you an asset or a liability? So those 5 drove everything. So we're teaching the young men, by the time you're a senior, you got to master that microphone. You got to master that podium, because you will be speaking to the freshmen regularly from the podium, right? Because we're trying to get them ready for the next level. So it just kept repeating itself. Then we put them on the buses again and bring them to the schools, to the middle schools, to the elementary in East Orange and Newark. And what a time that we had. I never had to go to the microphone to talk about anything. I just sat in the auditorium chair and watched my seniors coordinate this entire day, and we're empowering these young men. So with my girls, they saw the boys changing, and they said, Principal Kafele, what about us? So we created the Young Women's Empowerment Program, and it was equally as powerful. So those were the tools. We needed to give them something beyond just preaching and messaging. How do I get from point A to point B? Because it's easy, and I holler at somebody that's watching this broadcast. We all can see the goal. All of us. We see it. You know, whether it is we see it physically in front of us or we see it through other channels, such as television, such as newspaper, such as magazine, such as another person that's already accomplished it. Whatever it is, we see the goal. The challenge is, how do we get there? Because the goal could be as close as 5 feet in front of me. But if I don't know how to navigate and realize that I may have to take different steps to get to where I'm trying to go. Like right now in the education world, I'm considered to be one of the top speakers, one of the most sought after speakers in America. But my colleagues who are white, I've had conversations with them, and I ask them point blank, how'd you get from wanting to be speaker and now you're at this level that you're so sought after? And they tell me. I say, I gotta tell you something. My journey wasn't like yours. While yours was sounding to me like straight path, I had to get on my knees and crawl, alternate paths all over America, right, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Alternate paths to get to the same place. Places that I keynote. I've keynoted on every big stage in this country. But those places I keynote, there were, going back a few years, not a long time ago, I couldn't even get in the door, right? Couldn't get in the door to do breakout sessions. Breakout sessions are the smaller sessions. Couldn't get in the door. And now I keynote those same conferences, right? Because I was locked in, but I had to figure out the tools. Like how do I make it? I want it, and I can sit around and complain and cry racism and all sorts of isms. I can do that justifiably. Mm-hmm. But it ain't gonna open no doors for me. I'm just gonna be somewhere sitting down ticked off. So I said, all right, how do I get these doors to open? Like, what do I have to do differently? And I began to do that. And then I helped a whole lot of other black folks to get inside these doors.
Oh, bombs away. This is legendary. All right, we've got a wrap here. There will be a part 2 with Mr. Kafele and Mr. Booker. This has been amazing. We have time real quick. We always do rapid fire. This version of rapid fire is brought to you by the Equity and Social Justice Education 50. Grab yourself a copy. There will be a link in the bio, as well as U-Goboy merch. And basically, it's just kind of like 21 questions to get to know our guests and for the viewers at home as well. So, rapid fire. Here we go. Principal Kafele, what is your favorite word?
Intentionality.
Whew, I love it. What is your least favorite word?
Can't.
In your group of friends, are you the one that's always late or the one that everyone brings their problems to?
The one that everyone brings their problems to.
That's facts. He was here before I was today. Heads up. Biggest pet peeve?
People complaining and not making things happen.
Worst fear?
Fear.
Ooh, that's powerful. Favorite movie?
Lean on Me.
Because you've lived it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Favorite song? That's gonna be tough because I know you like your jams.
We Are One, Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Ooh, taking it all the way back. Favorite book?
The Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yes, I have read that as well. Shout out to the GOAT. Rest in peace. Favorite subject as a kid?
None of them.
Give me a pop for that. Michael Jackson, Prince, or James Brown?
James Brown.
I knew he was going to say that. Michael Jordan, Kareem, Magic Johnson, or LeBron?
Michael Jordan.
Favorite snack?
Favorite snack I can't eat anymore was donuts. I had a heart attack, so I can't eat them anymore.
Oh man, don't worry, I'll have one for you.
Well, no, popcorn. My wife would listen to this and say, have you lost your mind? No, popcorn. I eat it every day.
Nice. Celebrity crush growing up?
Michael Jackson. And James Brown.
Okay. What is one job you think you would be good at if you weren't a Hall of Famer?
Superintendent.
Absolutely. Make some noise. Oh my God. All right, real quick, plug your stuff and then we'll get up out of here.
Yeah, come visit me, y'all. Principal Kafele, Principal, because people put in PLE and like, your site doesn't work. PAL, principalkafele.com, KAFELE. And all my stuff is there. You can join me on Facebook, follow me on Facebook at Principal Kafele, Twitter for the older heads, I guess, at Principal Kafele, YouTube, the virtual AP Leadership Academy. That's my live stream every Saturday morning where we drop them 90-minute bombs every Saturday. And then Instagram, I have one, but I shut it down because I don't have time for it. My wife keeps saying, put it back up. But if I do, Principal Kafele.
I love it. And me, as always, where's my camera? U-Goboy. That's on all platforms, TikTok, IG, Facebook, u-goboy.com. We got videos out, Jonah the Great, Juice vs. Sauce, 5-Star Dancer, Bruce Wayne Money. I got music too. I'll definitely play you some as well. And of course, merch. Available in the description below. Grab yourself some merch. Shout out to the base. As always, my brothers, DK, Loso, and Ed Boy, my New York homies. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, Bravery Studios, as always. And we sign off like this. That's the belt. That's the other belt. That's the Hall of Famer. I'm U-Goboy. Bravery up. We out, baby. Yahtzee.
It's top five of who the best is. Money straight, my fam straight. I'm George straight, that's Texas. Angel wings on a Lambo. Praise the Lord, that's a blessing. Bentley truck like Lex Luger. Yeah, nigga, I'm flexing. Richard Sherman, I back it up. Engine mama, I stack it up. Hey, Poppy, yo, Gotti. Swear to God, I rack it up. Still Jersey, that's all day.
You go, boy.
Yahtzee.